There's a trend in wildfires tied to target shooting. Ignitions are becoming more prominent, and it's important for you, as a firearms user, to understand the potential impacts and implications of firearms use in the wildland environment. Thanks for joining us today to learn about this important topic. My name is Jessica Hawksworth, and I'm a prevention specialist for the British Columbia Wildfire Service. This video, capturing a gender reveal mishap in April of 2017, went viral. The bullet impacting the target triggered an explosion that immediately ignited surrounding dry grass.
Start packing up!
This quickly grew into a significant and costly wildfire. Although based in Arizona, examples like this one paint a good picture of the opportunity we have for education around target shooting and wildfire ignition potential. There are also plenty of examples right here in BC where target shooting related wildfires have caused significant damage to public and private property. Fire origin and cause investigations are conducted on every wildfire in BC. This is done not only for potential cost recovery, but also to understand specific causes of wildfires across our land base. This helps us to better serve the public in delivering our mandate. In BC, approximately 40% of all wildfires are caused by humans as opposed to lightning. Amongst these preventable human-caused wildfires, a trend has emerged indicating an increase in firearms-related wildfire ignitions that can be attributed to outdoor recreational target shooting in informal settings. In essence, target shooting practices in the wildland has led to an increased number of wildfire occurrences.
Dispatcher, I'm on squad 1.
These wildfires are of important concern to the BC Wildfire Service because we are seeing them come up in areas that are of high consequence to public safety.
Fire 1 to 2 hectares.
With the ever-expanding interface between communities and the wildland, the areas where public can safely recreate are becoming overcrowded and used for a variety of activities. Let's adjust our focus now to specifically how target shooting can cause wildfires. A 2016 study examining wildfire ignition by rifle provided some stark conclusions. Rifle bullets of various composition were fired at a steel plate, much like these ones that were found near the origin of wildfires in coastal BC. The bullets were deflected from a steel plate onto a bed of dry fuels. The research indicated that bullet fragments reached temperatures in excess of 800 degrees Celsius. For the record, that is well above the heat threshold needed to ignite a fire when there are susceptible fuels around. Fragments do cool rapidly, but can still ignite organic matter, particularly fine material if it's dry enough and close to the impact site. The study concluded that bullets could reliably cause ignitions, specifically those containing steel components in the core or jacket and those made of solid copper.
Dispatch, Country Mile, Brooke 7.
This is the start of the Gustafson wildfire in July of 2017. It quickly grew to 5,800 hectares, triggering the evacuation of 100 Mile House and the subsequent loss of multiple homes. Wildfire origin and cause staff identified the ignition area near a metal target that had numerous markings from bullet impact. The target was fixed to the ground on a bed of cured, matted grass. A grid search of the ignition area turned up bullets and fragmented bullet remnants. The report confirmed that conditions on the day of ignition supported a high probability of ignition in adjacent fuels as a result of metal fragments from the activity of target shooting. It was determined that the Gustafson wildfire was caused by firearms use.
Dispatch from 100 Mile House, engine 12.
There are plenty of examples of wildfires ignited from metal fragments related to ricochets off metal targets, but it doesn't stop there. Bullets striking rocks can also easily send hot metal fragments into surroundings. If the target itself is explosive, this poses a significant hazard by sending hot projectiles into nearby fuels. Binary exploding targets are commonly prohibited each year in BC during fire season because of the significant risk they pose to starting a fire. We've now shown you that target material can play an important role in the probability of wildfire ignition. But there are other important things to consider as well, such as target location in regard to the surrounding environment. Let's talk briefly about wind, slope, and adjacent fuels. Wind and slope can both add to potential consequence by impacting fire growth. Wind not only dries out fuels, increasing probability of ignition, but it also feeds oxygen to it and pushes fire to spread quickly. Similar to wind, slope influences the direction and speed at which fire spreads. If a fire were to ignite near your target, would it have a slope to climb or wind to push it to gain momentum before it runs out of dry fuels? For example, in this photo you see a target affixed to a stump. This stump is on a substantial slope and surrounded by dry, fine fuels exposed to winds. The day a wildfire ignited in this same cut block, the winds were gusting near 20 kilometers an hour. That fire grew to over 180 hectares and triggered an evacuation order. Fine fuels like grass and logging debris can dry out both as summer progresses and throughout each day. This makes them more susceptible to reaching combustion temperatures in the presence of an ignition source. It is important to understand that provincial legislation speaks specifically to wildfire. The Wildfire Act applies on all land within 1 kilometer of forest or grassland, which basically covers the entire province of BC. To be clear, that includes Crown land and private land unless relevant local bylaws exist. It governs all people within the province not only to report wildfires, but also to take appropriate precautions against causing or contributing to the start or spread of a wildfire. Ideally, to reduce the probability of starting a wildfire and the subsequent consequence should a fire ignite, a target shooter would place their target somewhere with a backdrop of little or no dry fine fuels and where there is minimal influence from wind or slope. Think of similar conditions to how most organized shooting ranges are set up. Or better yet, firearms users would bring their target practice to the organized shooting range or wait until conditions in the field are less likely to cause a wildfire, such as after a recent rain or when there is still a morning dew. Here's a quick recap of what we've talked about today. A trend of increasing firearms-related wildfire ignitions has been observed. As a firearms user in the wildland, you have an obligation to take appropriate precautions against causing a wildfire. Consider what you are shooting at, what is surrounding it, and if the current conditions may increase the chances of wildfire ignition. Finally, if you see a wildfire, call 1-800-663-5555 or *5555 on a cell phone. And if you have any information to support an investigation of a wildfire, please report to the Natural Resource Violation Reporting Line. Questions? Visit the BC Wildfire Service website at bcwildfire.ca. Thanks for watching. Remember to be safe and have fun.